Okay. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Isvaro Guratemeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavada Vyatadahaya Dakshina Murtiya Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Gosharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pramatosh Maham Om Shanti. Verse number
82.
82?
Yes.
You are jumping, huh, Samadhi?
81.
81.
81 is free of change.
Huh?
And if you're, if you're finished, 81.
81 we already covered?
No. So, okay.
No? Very short, 81. Therefore, you are limitless, non-dual awareness, free of change and impure. Well, come on. I mean,
Yes.
why it's telling us that? So we are Yanis, we know everything about our nature. Huh? Why keep here listening to this? The conclusion we must accept when we recognize that the objective world, which includes our body and mind, oh no, you're telling my body and mind to be an object in samsara, not real. With the conclusion we must accept when we know that the body and mind is nothing other than awareness, that we are nothing other than awareness, because we took ourselves first to be the body and the mind, therefore we are just awareness. It's simple, but being simple does not necessarily make it easy to accept. So that is the problem, that's the key, that's why we keep coming to exercise our discrimination and nididhyasana, because it's very easy, very simple, but not necessarily easy because of Mr. Maya, the beginningless ignorance that keeps playing its trick and pushing its vasanas into our mind and hey, go and get it, go and get it, go and get it, go and chase it, right? Identification, misidentification with the upajas. But being simple does not necessarily make it easy to accept one's true nature, for we must contend with the tremendous force of our vasanas, our conditioning, our program. This conditioning can only be undone by constant discrimination, which is why the text stresses the essential nature of the qualifications for making proper use of the means of knowledge Vedanta offers. Have you got that? Have we heard it?
No, what are these?
Oh, you haven't heard about the... No? Okay, I'm going to read it very briefly to you. So the conditioning can only be undone. I mean, it's not like that for everybody. Some people, they come with not much of a load of ignorance-based vasanas. And then the work of discrimination is relatively easy and fast and rapidly one may comes to that simple understanding and conclusion. But for some people who have a lot of vasanas, pressing him to believe that he is the body or the mind or whatever, one of these objects he's so much bound to. And then there is a lot of work to the degree that we are too bound by objects. We are boundly identified to objects we perceive. And then it requires more work. And the nature of those vasanas is going to determine whether we can stay at the beach, enjoy the sun, swimming and drinking pina colada and waiting for the vasanas to go, or if we have to be somewhere in an ashram or in a seminar doing nididhyasa 24/7 to clear those vasanas, it depends on that. But if we if we don't have much vasanas and good karma and we only stay on the beach, enjoy life, chances are that we exhaust our punya karma and then when we see we need to go back to do something to again build up credit, so to speak, punya karma. No? We need to. Conditioning. This conditioning can only be undone by constant discrimination. But discrimination does not transform us from an individual into non-dual awareness. It merely negates the misunderstandings, the misconceptions that kept us from recognizing our true nature. What this discrimination does is just to negate the upadhis, the false conception, false identifications we have with those levels of experience, human experience. That's the only thing. We're going to try to expose those bits and pieces of ignorance and apply the knowledge, negating reality to those thoughts, feelings, and statements, and we keep chipping it off. The removal of ignorance is the only way about it. The removal of all those misconceptions is the only way about it. There's no other way. Discrimination does not transform, it only negates those misidentifications, misconceptions that keep us from recognizing our limitless nature, free nature, which was there all along. We did not need to do anything to produce our limitless free nature. We just need to remove those wrong ideas we have about ourselves. Isn't it intriguing the way freedom comes about? We are already free. We are joy and fully secured, and yet we are not enjoying and appreciating our nature due to some wrong notions, conditioning. And then we don't have much of a pleasant experience because we are conditioned to think that we are limited, small, incomplete, inadequate, and so on and so on and so on. So we need to bring to light those wrong notions and see them as for what they are, misconceptions, wrong notions. But we need to be convinced that the scripture is pointing us to our nature as the right notion. So it says this is wrong notion and this is the right notion. So we need the logic behind the scriptures to convince us that, okay, it makes sense to me. Now I'm fully convinced that I'm none of those things I have been identified with. And I'm fully convinced that I can easily and relax. There is no relaxly? We should bring it to the dictionary. It's such a nice word. So we should just relax and accept and make a stand in awareness as awareness, but we need to be convinced. That's why we need the logic behind. These misconceptions are what might be termed impurities. Do we like this word, impurities?
Yes, sure.
Yeah?
It's very clear. If you have no condemnation about it, it's like pure gold or not pure gold.
Okay.
It's just some contamination.
Okay, contamination. So some vrits are there, or some wrong ideas, some notions. The scripture or the commentary here calls it. These misconceptions are what might be termed, we cannot call it impurities. Therefore, this notion of purification of the mind. We purify the mind from its impurities, but the impurities are much more easily understood as ignorance or wrong notions about one's nature and the nature of reality. We call it impurities. But impurities are not sins in the sense of moral failings. They are misidentifications of the self with objects that appear in awareness. The self, I'm having trouble. It is fine? The self, however, is not affected by these impurities, which are only apparently real, and which, like all seeming objects, resolve into awareness when ignorance disappears. So the self is not affected by impurities. So what is this talk about purifying the mind then? No? Makes no sense. If the self is free from any contact, from any modification as it contacts the world of thoughts and objects, what is this talk about purifying the mind? Does anybody have an idea?
This resolving mithya.
Huh?
Resolving mithya. Because you're not pure in mithya. Yes, this talk about we're all pure, all the self, is only true from the self. So as soon as you know you're the self, then it's all nonsense with this talk. But if you, as long as you don't, it's very important. So,
It's very important to purify.
yeah.
It's apparently important.
Yes?
To prepare the intellect for the understanding.
Yes, well said, yeah. So the self is free, but the self is already free and enlightened, realized, it's having a good time. So, I'm going to throw it by it's making all kinds of noise here. The self is having a good time already. Now it's better, huh? So, it is the intellect of the jiva that is somehow experiencing suffering. And enlightenment is only relevant to the intellect of the jiva, or self-knowledge is only relevant to the jiva. The self, there is no concern about psychological suffering. Therefore, the intellect needs to be prepared so that the self can use this intellect to understand its own nature, and then the self is free from the jiva, and the jiva is free from Ishvara's ignorance or Maya. You are going to say something, Vinay?
Even after one knows who they are, it is necessary to purify the mind, otherwise
It's
the jiva will continue to be unarmed.
Is necessary what?
If the mind is not purified,
Yeah,
even after you know who you are,
yeah,
the jiva can
Yeah.
have adharmic tendencies. Like
yeah, totally,
necessary to
yeah.
purify the mind even after you know who you are.
Yeah. So this talk of purification of the mind is a very interesting topic, because you need to do some purification of the mind before self-knowledge. And then after self-knowledge, you can either do some purification or not do some purification. So if you don't purify the mind, those impurities or ignorance-based thoughts and feelings are going to be appearing here. And then you're going to have to, again and again, exercise the willpower and discipline of discriminating ignorance when it's just about coming out of your mouth or your actions. So just a sec. So you're going to have to keep doing this hard work here. So why not to do some purification more, on a regular basis, and purify your vasana load in the way that the fact is that actually after self-knowledge, self-recognition or self-realization, this process is more or less spontaneous. At least that's how I have observed it. Some people may be think like, oh, it's all wonderful, I go and enjoy life. But then as ignorance begins popping up in your mind, so what do you do about that? Okay, I know who I am, but I'm not behaving as such. So immediately you start finding ways to do your sadhana, so discriminating. So what is this? What is that? In my case, I did not have the scriptures, but I was like, what is this? Why it's coming? I was just trying to figure it out by myself. Why is it still coming? So it's my conditioning, I would say. So I want it to go, but you are asking a similar question. I want this to go. So it becomes very evident, ignorance, because before you have self-knowledge, the ignorance a lot of the time goes by dressed up as knowledge, and we don't notice it. We think we are doing the right thing. But once we know who we are, it's those pieces of ignorance becomes like an elephant in your living room. It's like, whoa, it shows up big time. And then makes you think, where is this coming from? Why I'm still behaving that way? And then there is nothing we can do except to say, okay, this is an object of experience, it's mithya, I'm not my vasanas, I'm not my feelings, my thoughts. But yet, if those vasanas keep popping up, you can try Karma Yoga, understanding better the system, understanding how this all works, so that you can accept those Prarabdha karmas as coming from Ishvara, and then you don't take it personally. You just tell Ishvara, okay, Ishvara, keep doing that. Exhaust my vasana loads. I don't take any part in it. It's an impersonal system, and I'm gonna just be witnessing, knower of the process. So no identification, not owning. That was exactly what I was trying to explain when I had the fight with my son in the restaurant, and I did not feel ashamed. And he said, are you not ashamed? I said, no, strangely enough, not at all. And he said, oh, you crazy. And he said, you don't own. You don't say, this is my karma, this is my action, you just say, oh my God, Vishwara, where did it come from? So be it. I'm not going to dramatize. We dramatize because we think that I am the vasana, I am the action, I am this, I am that. The moment that the identification was broken, somehow you have an objective view of what's going on. And then sadhana becomes easy, Vinay. Very easy. But you need to keep working, keep watching, keep some level of vigilance and discrimination. Yes.
Could you check your thing to make sure it's properly?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask you a follow-up on that? I'm
Yes,
curious
please.
about what kind of reflection happens after an event where you try to adopt like we all ought to be. Was I behaving kind to in accordance with my values appropriately? So regardless of whether you feel guilty for it, there can be this observation of that really wasn't okay, and I hope next time,
Yeah.
it's better.
Totally. Yeah.
What happens in that?
Well, that is there as long as you identify with thoughts and actions, and then you're going to look at that. And the first thing is to love your jiva, because that is our program, fructifying as actions and karma. But we did not ask it to be programmed in a certain way, understand? So I'm trying to conform my mind and my actions to Dharma, to the scriptures, but mistakes are made. The first thing is just to accept, not to beat ourselves up and say, okay, Shwara, so you send me that, there is another. It's to break this identification as I and mine, This is a very important point. You break it, but still you do your best to overcome those ignorance-based vasanas that produce sort of suffering to the individual, to the environment, and to the other beings around.
And are you answering that question from the perspective of someone prior to moksha, or someone
prior? Now, as prior promotion. Now prior to promotion, yeah. When it's happening before this knowledge is firm, the best thing is to apply Karma Yoga. It's the understanding that this vasana is compelling you to do certain things, that somehow are not beneficial to you or to the environment or to other beings. But still it keeps pressing you when you see it happens, okay? And then you say, oh my God, I was so weak. How could I give in into that thought and feeling? Why did I say all of those words? And why this, why that? So when those things are happening, the best thing is to understand the Ishvara system, that we are all being operated by this system of vasana, desire, or thought, desire, action, and vasana. And we have got the merits of coming in contact with the teachings of the scriptures, and we are in the process of conforming our minds to Dharma, to the scriptures on Dharma and Karma. And then once you have this picture clear about Karma Yoga, you begin breaking this firm identification as the thinker of your thoughts and the doer of your actions and so on. You know, it's no longer mine, my karma, my thought. You know, you just know, oh, you know, it's the system here. It's, the thought is coming up back again. It's in my program. And maybe this is a program that it was not even from this lifetime. I say, Ishvara, come on. I was born with this tendency since I was a little baby. And, you know, why I have to be paying for it right now. So give me a break, Ishvara. So loosen up that vasana. And I'm doing my best here. You understand? The moment that we understand the system, we have a different relationship with the vasana. First, we begin breaking that sense of I and mine. And we have a mean to say, Ishvara, okay, it's coming. I know it's all you, and I'm doing my best, and I take the results of prasad, as prasad. Whatsoever comes, oh, again I said something, I did something. Okay, Ishvara, you know, I will deal with the karma of the situation to the best of my skills and possibility.
So what I was really asking wasn't about us as seekers, but as someone who is attained
Okay.
and understanding.
Right.
Is there some self-reflection that happens, or is it not needed?
Well, it's not needed. The scripture says that there is only parabdha karma for the Jiva Mukta, in the sense that he's done with the identification with his thoughts and actions, and moreover, he has conformed his mind to the scripture when he's someone with the entire knowledge. And the only thing that's manifesting is all those thoughts and actions that were already in the system for a long time. In the case of Ramana Maharaj, the cancer came, was a manifestation of his parabdha karma. Nobody knows where that came from. Someone so pure, so radiant, so beautiful. Okay? So the scripture says there is only parabdha karma for the Jiva Mukta. But even that is not really precise to be said. Because even when parabdha karma comes, the Jiva Mukta takes it without any sense of ownership, you know. You see it as an impersonal system in any case. So when anything, but it does not mean to say that mistakes cannot be made, you know.
Well, I think that's clearly what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
The question I've been having for years, since a comment James made in this room 5 years ago. How bad could it be? How badly could a realized person behave? Could they lie, cheat, steal?
Yeah.
Because they could easily say, hey, come on, I'm awareness.
That is a very fine kind of subject because enlightenment or moksha, the first thing is self-realization is one thing, and self-knowledge is one thing. Another thing is moksha. Moksha is freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of binding, compelling vasanas. Those binding, compelling vasanas, which are not in harmony with Dharma, are going to push the jiva to do some inappropriate actions that are going to be detrimental to the environment and other people. And it could happen to someone realized. And then we say, okay, the person is realized, but the person evidently is not as free from those binding vasanas. But then the realized person can say, but I don't care because I know I'm not my vasana. You see the argument?
Well, that's right.
I'm not my vasana. And that is also can be said. Because even if those vasanas abide and manifest themselves, the Jiva Mukta, or the person with a firm knowledge, does not only experience and feel like, oh my God, I did it again, you know? It just goes by like that, and there's no detachment, there's no attachment or identification with it. It's also to be said. That is the fine distinction between self-realization and sainthood. Sainthood is such a degree of purification of mind that mistakes are almost never made, you know? And then the vasanas, the causal body is so pure and clean that almost nothing inappropriate or thoughts, impure thoughts and actions ever come out. And then the person is not only free in the knowledge, I'm not my vasanas, but it has a causal body which is highly purified, which seems to be the case of Ramana Maharaj. You understand? A causal body are highly purified. It depends on the construct of the individual. The self-knowledge is going to give us the confidence and certainty that I am not my construct. And then as not my construct, meaning to say as awareness, I don't identify with my vasanas, with my thoughts and my actions. And then the Jiva Mukta can come to the extent to say, and moreover, I don't mind to deal with karma. Because when mistakes are made, one has to deal with the karma. Well, some people deny the karma. Some people in the spiritual world, they even deny the karma. They say, no, it's nothing about me, it's all about you. And I did that for your own good. You understand? So denial. But a person with integrity say, hey, never mind, you know. Mistakes are made, and apologize. And I have apologized a few times. At that restaurant I apologized as well, but without any sense that of shame or guilt or anything. It's just the system, but it is correct to apologize, you know. This is, we are talking in terms of different degrees of purification of one's vasana load. You understand? It's a very fine line.
I think it's tricky because, you know, as a closet asshole, I feel kind of bad when I do something, but I can't wait till I'm enlightened so I can just come out of the closet and be an asshole in public. And just disown it. Right now I feel like I have some responsibility to be kind. Then I won't have any.
Yeah. No, that's not the proper understanding. No.
I thought I was really making progress.
No. Now you somehow you took some of Ramji's words literally. You know? It means Ramji he dramatized this to emphasize the fact that a jiva is not a saint, is jizen, is not someone who walks in a certain way, dresses in a certain way, speaks in a certain way. A jiva is, a jiva mukta. A jiva mukta is also a redneck from Montana that is grumpy sometimes, you know. He can be grumpy. I met Ramji grumpy sometimes, and he was not very nice. So he's a human being. And some people who think that Jiva Mukta or Mahatma is someone who is a saint are going to immediately label the person. It's also bad for the individual because as long as he sees that there are some bad feelings or bad thoughts, he say, oh, I cannot be self-realized because there are still bad feelings and bad thoughts. You know? So it's to free us that he says that. And he keeps exaggerating his jivahood. You know? I was there with Jennifer recently, band, and here, whenever he could, he would say, I am attached to my wife, I'm attached to my wife. There was no need to say that. He said that to push people's buttons, you know.
He was still doing that in Calgary, but he
Yeah?
continued to do that.
Yeah. He's not attached to his wife, and he's attached. If she goes, he's gonna be fine and happy, no drama about that. But he has a strong affection and preference to be around her. So he says, I'm attached to my wife. Don't think that if you get enlightened, you cannot have a wine and a wine or wife. They go together, right? Yeah. I had some friends in the United States that used to say, when I had some romantic love problem, he would say, man, you have to wine and dine your wife, you know? Wife has to be wine and dined.
That's right.
So wife and wine, they go together, therefore the confusion. But, you know, it's not really like that. It's not that you're going to transform if you feel that you're a little bit rough and a bit like that. So that is your construct. You have...
To be clear, that was total sarcasm.
Yeah, you have the knowledge and some of those characteristics of your construct remain. But now you have the knowledge. But it's not to say that they don't come modified and neutralized, because self-knowledge is the greatest purifier, the scriptures say. To purify the vasanas. When you know for sure who you are, immediately, all those stupid ideas, you know, here, popping up here and compelling us to think and act, they get neutralized because they are all based on self-ignorance. When the certainty of self-knowledge comes, all those notions, they begin losing energy, power, you know, they start shrinking. So there is a certain degree of purification that is usually processed before. Before it's important as a development of the qualifications, because the mind has to be relatively purified so that this knowledge can be gained and retained. A lot of people gain the knowledge but cannot retain, because then again the mind modifies and there is a lot of ignorance agitating the mind, disturbing or concealing the mind, and then the knowledge as if it's lost, because ignorance comes and dominates you know, one's conscious mind. So there is some purification to be processed before. Self-knowledge by itself, it's a great purifier, and then after that, I think it's Ramana Maharaj often used to put it as the remainings of ignorance are going to be coming, and you just keep applying knowledge and they keep being neutralized, whatsoever more deeply hardwired vasanas, ignorance-based vasanas. You understand?
So it's really ongoing discrimination that removes the impurity.
Yeah.
It's knowledge that...
Yeah, knowledge. Yeah.
It's a sort of...
Yeah.
What's going on, like maybe it spirals upwards.
Yeah.
You know, the more discrimination you do, the less your vasanas become.
Yeah.
Goes up to a point where...
Yeah. Self-knowledge is the direct knowledge. The jiva is the self. Knowledge of the scriptures is the body of knowledge that, once applied, has the potential to cancel ignorance. And then the jiva is free from the tyranny of those ignorant bits and pieces of notions, energies, concepts.
Is this because discrimination...
Discrimination is the most important tool. You know now, because after you apply the knowledge, expose your mind to the knowledge, and then you know very clearly what is ignorance and what is knowledge. And then you keep discriminating knowledge from ignorance, knowledge from ignorance.
And the essence of...
Knowledge is satya.
Yeah. Also, it's de-identification, not identifying as a subject, only things, only your objects.
Sorry, I did not follow you.
Is that what discrimination implies? To do discrimination implies not identifying with your vasanas.
Yeah. Not identify with those.
Coming up,
Yeah.
forward
Yeah.
through your vasanas.
Yeah, not identify with anything which is an object of experience, and the vasana is a thought here that becomes here. It's mithya, it's an object. It's going to affect your mind. Therefore, it's good to discriminate those stressing thoughts, as not real, as a mean to neutralize them. Yeah. There are good vasanas that you want to invite them to develop. You understand?
Yes, yes.
So,
It can be positive.
Yeah.
It's two modes. It's one.
Yeah.
Multimodal.
Yeah.
It could be positive or it could be negative.
yeah.
Discrimination.
We want to cultivate, develop, and maintain good vasanas. Vasana for moksha, for self-inquiry, for discrimination. Vasana for peace of mind. So those are good vasanas. We want those vasanas to be bound to us, so that our spiritual develop goes rapidly, develops rapidly. Okay, what is the verse? 82. Just as the dream objects, as the dreamed objects are not real, the objects in the waking state created by self-ignorance are not real. That's a trick one. Dream objects and waking state objects are both not real. Therefore, the body-mind sense complex is not real, because both objects come from the body-mind complex, right? It's the mind that becomes the waker and the dreamer, and have those thoughts objects. You are the awareness of them, free from change and impurities. When we awake, we immediately dismiss any recollected dreams as a product of imagination. We may recall the dream people we encountered and the scenes we enacted with them, as well as the thoughts and feelings evoked by these experiences. But we regard them as mental images and dismiss them as lacking the sort of reality we attribute to real people, objects, and experience in the waking state. We have no problem to determine the unreality of dream objects. We say, no, it's just a dream. It's just somehow my mind has projected that, but it's not the reality. The waking state seems to be the only reality there is. But we regard them as mental, but careful analysis such as we have been engaged in reveals that there is no essential difference between a dream object, a dream thought, and the waking thought or object. Both are mental images. They are born out of perception, right? And the mental image does not occur outside of awareness. So again, we are resolving those objects, either from the dream or the awakened states, resolve them as awareness. And mental image does not occur outside of awareness. Once we give up the false notion that we have actual contact with physical objects and realize that all we know are sense impressions coordinated by the mind, we see the essential sameness of awakened dream state experience. So the mind is capturing those images through the sense, in the awakened state, through the sense instruments and sense organs. In the dream, the sense instruments are off. The sense organs are still operating. So we are capturing those mental projections by our sense organs. So objects are just sensorial impressions, sense impressions. And they are the same. Either they comes from here or comes from here. We could even say more that all these objects that pop here, they were originated in here as well. Because first we need to gain enough impressions in our causal body so that the dream comes, and those impressions are projected as dream objects. But they are all being captured by our sense organs. And the sense organs are being coordinated by the mind into single experience. We see the essential sameness of awake and dream experience. Just impressions gained by our sense organs, coordinated by the mind. Here is a little bit more structured and slow because we have the dimension time and space, the objects and the distance between one thought object and the other, so everything goes slower, and we have a sense that it's more real. And we have objects appearing as Ishvara's creation, and then we have to respect all those rules and laws govern Ishvara creation. We cannot do certain things here. But here in the dream states, we just have our own, the content of our own mind, and then those vasanas, they awaken, and then they project those contents. And we don't need to somehow to conform to Ishvara laws. We can fly backwards, we can do great things, because it's all subjective. But it's still, they are just objects of experience gained through our sense organs, It's the same principle as in the awake and the dream experience. And when we further reflect upon the fact that the mind is simply a succession of thoughts witnessed by awareness, the notion of a waking world being of a different order of reality from the dream world collapses for both worlds, because both worlds belong to Mithya. So when we reflect that an object is just a thought, and then we have the thoughts producing dream objects, and then we have the thoughts, gaining or contacting Ishvara's objects, but it's all a thought. It's experienced always as a thought in the mind. You understand? Ishvara project, but we experience as a thought in the mind. So it's all a thought. When we know that the mind is just a flow of stream of thought, and then we understand that there is no difference between the two states. It's just thoughts. What is present in both the dream and the waking worlds is awareness, which is not affected by the mental images that come and go. And these thoughts and emotions these images evoke. So the images come and go, and the thoughts and emotions that come with it, they are all objects as well, that they come and go. And the awareness, capturing all of that, they remain the same. It's all awareness, and not separate from awareness. Just as the seeming difference between the individual and the totality are resolved by the implied meaning of the two terms, which is awareness, so the seeming difference between awaking and dream objects are resolved by the common denominator, which is awareness. Do we have any question about that? And if the awakening state And if the awakened state can be resolved into awareness, then the objective world no longer stands as independent from awareness. It's all mithya, projection, just an appearance in awareness, which can be nothing other than awareness. All that remains is the changeless awareness, self. So this is the best part now. I have been saying, now comes the best, now comes the best, now comes the best, and now comes the best. Which is the benefits of the knowledge of non-duality. We want to know what is in there for us. Huh? We don't get into anything unless we know that there is something for us. The benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, while we're on the subject of dream, the question arises, could then one say that the thoughts presenting themselves as objects in the waking state are no more or less different than the thoughts presenting themselves in the dream state?
Yes.
And therefore, the state of waking is no more or less a dream than the dream state. So they're both dreams.
Yeah. And it's all thoughts being projected. The only thing to keep in mind is that in the dream, the thought comes from our vasanas. It's a subject projection from our vasanas, which is based on previous contact with physical objects. But then we have them here, and then they project themselves. In the awakened state, we can have thoughts appearing, coming from here. The moment that we see a cow, the cow thought comes. You see a dog, and then a dog thought. But in the awakened state, sometimes we are even, it's a good example, no, I don't want anything, I just want to meditate. We try to meditate, and the thought is coming from our vasanas, our impressions, in any case. Yeah? It keeps popping up here. Yeah? So these thoughts, they are coming from the vasana, and the same thoughts that we project in our dream state. These are the thoughts here, they are coming from the field. You know, it's Ishvara. But everything was born from the objects of the field to begin with. We experience an aura of objects in the field, in the Ishvara's field. So it begins here, it's deposited here, and then we project and we superimpose thoughts in our. Sometimes we awake, but we are those dreaming types, you know, the daydreamers that like. You talk to someone and someone is awake, but it's dream. So those thoughts are there. And then sometimes the thought is rooted on the field because it's just byproduct of the contact with the experience of the field, those objects in the field. You understand? Thoughts can be also a byproduct of contact with subtle objects in here. You have some memories, you have some emotions, you remember something, or you are working on a concept. All of that is an object that is going to be producing thoughts as well. Right? Thought is a very fascinating thing, huh? It's good that we are not thought, because thought is very complicated. Where we are is very simple, just the knower of mithya. Mithya is the beautiful, complex, intelligent ignorance, you know. Sometimes very difficult to comprehend how genius Ishvara is to bringing all these incredible subtle objects into our consciousness. Shall we leave it for tomorrow, the good part? And tomorrow we're gonna come and we're gonna know the benefits of the knowledge of non-duality. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Isvaro Gura Temeti Murti Beda Bhagine Yomavada Vyapatadahaya Dakshinamurtya Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharanta Magocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satyaguru Pranatosh Maham. Thank you. Om Shanti. Thank you, my dear.